Hey guys! So I'm going to be very honest, I didn't really feel like uploading this video, but I kind of had to. And just to kind of explain why, before I started this repaint I knew that the doll I chose, or the face mold, was a really bad fit for Melanie Martinez, but there wasn't anything better, and so I kind of had to do with what I could get. There are things you could do to make it better, such as file it as much as I did in my last repaint video, but even then her face is still so different from what the doll looks like, so it's not really gonna help all that much. Now what I did instead was actually add some really heavy shading using acrylic paint, and the only reason why I did that is because she has long hair that is going to cover it. Otherwise I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. Another thing that kind of didn't really help me is that when looking for a picture to use as a reference, I went onto Google and searched for Melanie Martinez and then different looks or different songs, and so I ended up picking a picture that was kind of low resolution instead of actually just going to the music video of the look I was inspired by and just taking a screenshot of that. It was definitely a lot harder to find good pictures of her compared to other celebrities like Beyonce or Britney Spears, but I could have had a much better picture if I just went to the music video, so I kind of regret not doing that. I might do a better one at some point if I find a doll that is more suitable for her face, but for now this is what we'll have to deal with. Now, in the beginning of the video I showed the watercolor pencils I used, as well as the soft pastels and acrylic paint. And if you have any questions about the materials I use, how I use the pencils with the watercolor brushes, or what sharpener I use, I do recommend checking out my last repaint, which I'll link in the info box. The doll I'm using is actually one that I repainted before. If you remember my kawaii inspired repaint, that is the doll I'm using, because once again I couldn't really find anything better, so I had to reuse it. And the made to move dolls are pretty much sold out, at least where I live, so I couldn't even get a new version of the same doll if I wanted to. Although I did actually find it online, but the price was about triple the price of what they used to cost, and also the shipping time was just gonna be too much. I still do like the doll and how it came out. I like the look with the huge bow, and I like the two-toned hair. And I like how in general the makeup colors are much different from what you're used to seeing. The process is the same one as usual. I first removed the face from the original doll, or technically my repaint, using pure acetone. I then sprayed it with a sealer before I started doing any of the painting. Then went in with soft pastels and added some shading and outlined the eyes with a watercolor pencil. And then after doing the first layer and after placing some of the details, I sprayed it again before continuing. And then once I was done, I sprayed it with the sealant again. I then started adding the hair, added some resin to the eyes and lips. I also added some shading to the hair using soft pastel, and the reason why I did this is because the hair color I was using was definitely not the right color for this look, and even after shading it's not perfect, but it is closer than the sky blue I was originally using, so I guess it's okay. One thing I do want to mention though is that if you are going to be handling the doll a lot, I wouldn't recommend adding shading using the soft pastel, just because it is going to rub off over time. At least if you're using the type of hair that I'm using in this video, which is viscose or something similar, which doesn't really stain as easily as natural fibers. The reason why I'm wrapping the head in lace after adding the bangs is just because it helps flatten down the viscose, and it's also going to help hold it down so it's easier to cut when trimming it. For the nose piercing, I used some 0.25mm wire. And then I added some curls by wrapping the hair around a couple of cocktail sticks and then applying heat using a hairdryer. To make the bow, I just basically used a rectangle of some white satin, then glued in the sides to make it look a bit more neat. And then although the bow she's originally wearing is a headband, I just glued it directly onto her head. To make the shirt, I just took some super fluffy fabric and sketched around the doll to make a loose pattern. This is a very strange and loose fitted shirt, so it doesn't have to be all that perfect, and also if you do make any mistakes, it's not going to be visible due to the texture of the fabric. If you have any requests for other celebrities you'd like to see, I will do my best to find better face molds. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.